Mavis is a diesel engine belonging to the Farquhar Quarry Company. She is in charge of the stone trucks at the quarry, and when Toby is busy or there are too many trucks for him to manage by himself, she is allowed to bring a loaded train down to Farquhar. She enjoys this because the journey gives her a chance to stretch her wheels. Besides, she sometimes finds it dull up at the quarry with no one to talk to but trucks. For most of the way, the line runs besides a road. Mavis is always very careful, especially at the place where Thomas once had an argument with a policeman. A road crosses the line here, and though there are warning signs, some of the cars and lorries come around the corner much too fast. They make Mavis nervous. "There'll be an accident one day," Mavis's driver often says as they pass the place, and she feels sure he is right. One day, Mavis was late. The trucks had been in all the wrong places, and she had had to waste time sorting them out. As she came down the line, she felt them surge against her. "Stop pushing!" she growled. They neared the crossing, and Mavis saw a lorry coming towards them. "He'll stop when he sees us," she thought. But she couldn't know the lorry driver was new to the island. The last thing he expected to see was a train. Mavis, who had already stopped, watched in horror. "Ouch!" she exclaimed. "That hurt! I didn't push him over!" she cried in alarm. Her driver laughed and jumped down. "No one's blaming you," he said. "I hope the lorry driver is all right." The lorry's right-hand door was deep in the ditch, but now a figure could be seen struggling to climb out at the other side. Mavis's driver went to help. "Is that a train?" the man demanded. "It certainly is," laughed Mavis's driver. "You must be new here, not to have seen us before." Mavis's front was bent, but she wasn't badly hurt. Her owner sent her to be mended, and asked Sir Topham Hatt if he could borrow Toby while she was away. "What about the trucks down here, sir?" Toby asked anxiously. Sir Topham Hatt nodded. "I'm afraid it'll mean more work for you, Percy," he said. "But Toby's side plates make him the only engine who can go up there. You remember what happened to Thomas, don't you?" And with that, they had to be content. A few days later, Percy was shunting in the yard at Farquhar when the station master came up. "Leave those trucks, please, Percy," he said. "There's an emergency down at the harbor. Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go and sort it out straight away." "But Toby can't," began Percy. "Never mind that," the station master said. "Sir Topham Hatt needs you double quick. Leave us to worry about the shunting." He hurried away to make arrangements. While Percy was away, Terence did all the shunting in the yard. "Adaptable," he boasted. "That's what my owner says I am. Go anywhere, do anything, that's me. You take my advice and scrap your rails. Broaden your outlook, like me." "Pooh," said Percy. "Me plow a field? I prefer to stay on my rails, thank you." "Steam engines did plow once upon a time," Terence chuckled, "and ran on roads." The engines remembered Trevor the traction engine, and had to admit that Terence was right. Repairs to Mavis took longer than expected, and Toby became used to trundling off to the quarry each morning. Because of Toby's small water tank, his driver and fireman had arranged with the quarry manager that they should bring loaded trucks down to Farquhar at lunchtime, instead of later in the day. It saved time too, for Toby would otherwise have needed an extra journey to fill his water tank. This way, he delivered the trucks and got water in one visit. Time passed, and the weather became colder, with hard frosts during the night. They didn't worry Toby. His fire kept him nice and warm, as he puffed happily to and fro, arranging the trucks, taking them down to the yard, and bringing back empty ones. One night it was particularly cold. The ground froze solid, and even Toby felt chilly. He shivered as he left the shed and set out, light engine, along the line towards the quarry. When the ground freezes, it swells. At the road crossing where Mavis had had her accident, the frost had swollen earth in the ruts beside the rails, so much that Toby's wheels were lifted clean off the track. There was a crunching noise, a rumbling, and Toby began to shudder. He was horrified. "Horror!" he exclaimed. "What's happening?" The line here curves away towards the quarry, but Toby, with no rails to guide his wheels round, simply went straight on. Toby was not going fast. "Whoa there, Toby," said his driver at once, and put on the brakes as hard as he dared. Shakily, Toby came to a stop with all 6 wheels firmly on the roadway. "Oh dear," he said, looking at the grass verge in front of him. "Now what?" His fireman jumped down. "No problem," he said. "With care, we can have you back on the rails in no time." "I don't see how," said Toby sadly. Directed by the fireman, the driver carefully reversed Toby along the ruts his wheels had just made. At last, with a thud and a jolt, Toby felt the rails safely beneath his wheels once more. He heaved a sigh of relief. "Well done, Toby," said his fireman. "Now spread a few hot ashes from your fire along there, so that it doesn't happen again. Then we can get safely up to the quarry, and no one will be any wiser." But they reckoned without Sir Topham Hatt. When Mavis was home after being mended, he came to see the engines.
"What's this I hear, Toby?"
he asked.
"Tried to be a traction engine, were you?"
Toby blushed, but Sir Topham Hatt wasn't cross. Toby told him about Terence. Sir Topham Hatt laughed.
"If I were you," he said, "I should leave the roads to what they were made for. You stay on the rails. You'll find them much more comfortable."
Toby the tram engine was quick to agree.